Castillo.
Present.
Councilman Fazio.
Here.
Councilman Hoppenstedt.
Here.
And Supervisor DePew.
Present. Okay, folks, I am going to change around a couple of things. Well, one thing tonight. I'm going to move old business to the top. Our Carson Power to give a presentation, and we are going to hear from the board with any questions to those folks. But before we get going, what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion not to read the minutes of the previous board meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor not to read the minutes of the previous board meeting on the 5th of February with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of the February 5th previous board meeting at this time.
I will second that.
We have a motion on the floor with a second to approve those minutes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. So again, with the additions, I have one addition, because I'm actually going to address one of them on the bottom here. The one addition that we are going to have on here is the memorandum of agreement, and I'll address that after we're done with the folks from Carson, or Ohioville Solar, I should say, correct. So, gentlemen, if you would like to step up and introduce yourselves and give a presentation. This is all the information that you folks received a couple weeks back. And these are different agreements, stormwater control, easements, and so forth. Good. Question before you get going. Do you have cards for the board members? Business cards?
I can leave a business card.
Okay, before you guys leave at the end of this. All right, thank you.
So good evening. My name is Nick Cunha. I'm here on behalf of Carson Power, which is the developer for Ohioville A and B Solar on 139 Crow Hill Road. Ohio A and B Solar is 11.5 megawatt DC, 8 megawatt AC, which is really the power output community solar project on what used to be an apple orchard, Bud Walker's old apple orchard. It resides mostly in the town of Plattekill, and then partially in the back portion, right south of the golf course up there, is in Lloyd. We got approval from the planning board in October for site plan. We're here in front of you tonight to get approval on several easement and access agreements. First of one is an access agreement, and that governs a stormwater maintenance agreement, a decommissioning agreement, and a landscaping agreement in front of you all. We've been working with Ben through the last few months to hash out bond amounts that were approved by Pat Hines, the engineer, as well as just different conditions in these agreements to make sure that the town has proper security as the project is constructed and during operations. The project is owned and will be operated by a company called Nexamp. They're a big IPP or power producer that operates across the United States. They're based in Boston. They have a variety of different community solar projects in New York. I think maybe the closest one is in the town of Marlborough on Milton Turnpike. They have a small one. And we have several others. Carson does a lot of work just developing them. And so we work with the planning board and then town boards to get through the front half of the process. But unlike a lot of developers, we're not just flipping this. Nexamp has been involved the whole time. So the people who have looked at these agreements and signed off on them are the people who will be operating the project. The project is a community solar project, meaning it interconnects at the distribution level. So we've been working with Central Hudson. The power goes right into the Central Hudson distribution grid, and it gets managed at the Ohioville substation. So that's why the project is named Ohioville Solar. And then that energy is just used by Central Hudson to power local homes. The 8 megawatt system produces enough energy for about 1,200 homes. So usually 150 homes per megawatt AC output is kind of just to give you a rough idea of how much electricity comes out of this. And unlike a lot of the big thousands of acres projects, this one will be roughly 40 acres of land of disturbance within the fence. That there's no forested area being cleared except for the apple trees that are kind of going out of commissioning. Bud's going to probably keep farming the back portion in Lloyd. But yeah, went through a public hearing, collected public feedback, incorporated that into our plans. And we're in front of you tonight to get approval on the agreements that we worked through with Ben. So sorry, I don't have a visual, but I have a laptop with them. So if there's any questions on the site plan in general, happy to answer them. But generally, if you've been up there, where the apple orchard is now, is where the solar project's going.
Okay. Gentlemen?
Well, I actually have two questions. And the one is, I know there's a bond for whatever for decommissioning, correct? Now, who holds that? What happens if somebody goes belly up? How is that?
Secured.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the point of the surety bond. So the surety bond has been approved of by the town, and then it's held in the name of the town. So if it's with a surety company, and so part of that agreement is there's an amount agreed to that kind of is backed up by an accounting of what it would cost to decommission the plant, and that's what Pat Hines signed off on. And so that amount inflates over time. We are holding the amount of what that bond would be in 20 years, so you're kind of covered for a good chunk of time, and then you guys have the opportunity to revisit that at any point. And then, so to answer your question, if we go belly up, the town, per that agreement, can charge against that to decommission the
Yeah, because it seems like every 10 years it's looked at, right? Where it could, something would change. And how does it come up at 10 years? Why not 5 years? I'm just curious.
10 years was the discretion of Ben. We, in our initial form, we put in front of the planning
Just
board,
for the
it was
record,
5
Ben
years.
is the town's attorney.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah, the town attorney. In our initial plan that we put in front of the planning board, the verbiage has 5 or 10 years as the town sees fit. Ben wanted it to be 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where that comes from. But short answer is the surety bond is held by an insurance company. It's governed by this
So
agreement.
there's no way it's going to come back and bite the town.
No, exactly. That's the point. Yep.
That's what I'm worried about. And I guess the third question actually is, I read like the decommissioning, and it says we take out this. Now, how come lines that are more than 48 inches deep, any electrical lines could stay there?
I believe, I don't even think we're going deeper than 48 inches for the borings.
Well, that's just something I read. It
And
said
so-
more than 48 could stay. And I'm like, well, down the road, if somebody's digging, all of a sudden it'd be like, hey, what did we find?
Yeah.
So are you saying anything that was put in down to 48? Or you're saying you're not going down at all?
Yeah, I'd have to.
I can answer that. So,
These are technological.
Owen Hooper, essentially the project manager on this. So, the decommissioning 48 inches is the decommissioning out of the standards for the New York Ag and Markets Department is designed so you wouldn't disrupt the farmland. So if you did bury cables more than 4 feet deep, you're not obligated to take them out. You can just leave them in the ground because they'd be below plowing depth. However, all our buried electrical is going to be like 18 inches deep, so everything we put in the ground would come
Would come up. Okay.
That's right. So
Would that be with the exception of the stanchions for the panels? They would go below frost, correct? Which
they do, but those all right. There's a single piece that would come out, right?
they're pounded in. They're not concreted.
They're true.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So they go right into. We had a full geotech report. They go screw directly in. There's no pile driving or anything like that. These are tapered ground screw design. But the decommissioning plan does cover that all the foundations come out. The concrete foundations for the pads come out too. So.
Okay. And are you done?
Yes.
Okay, well, I just want to backtrack on what you were talking to or alluding to. So the decommissioning bonds are based on the facility that's in plans or in motions today, the 8-megawatt system. Is there any anticipation of doubling or increasing that to any size?
No, and we have to go back in front of the planning board.
That's what I want to make sure the board is aware of. That any time that they expand or any time that they increase or change the type of equipment, they would have to go back through the whole process. At that time, the additional bonds would have to be adjusted for the 100% value to decommission. And again, at that rate, what's prescribed by the attorney, or the engineer, basically, and approved by the attorney.
Correct. And one thing to add is there was an extra 10% adder that was put in there for execution of that whole process. Whether there's fees to execute, you need a lawyer to get involved, etc.
That's kind of pretty standard.
Yeah.
I mean, that protects the town in the future, so we don't have to, not necessarily us, but there may be 7 boards,
Yes.
11, 3 generations, what have you. But that protects us into the future.
What was the 10%?
So the bond that we are putting in place is 110% of the value to decommission this, and the 10% came from an adder to execute per se.
Who comes up with the 10%?
The town attorney made it.
Actually, the engineer comes up with the actual numbers, and then the town attorney vets that
Yeah,
to make
so-
sure it, on our behalf, protects us for that.
Yeah, so the decommissioning amount, to your point, comes from the engineer. That 10% execution adder came from the town attorney.
Right. So you have a lifespan of how long is the lifespan of the panels, or when would they have to possibly be
The
replaced?
panels, so the lease can go up to 40 years. The current lease is 25 years.
What about the actual
Panel-
function of the equipment?
They vary. I think the ones we have on there right now is for the life of the project. Now, in 10 years, if a super efficient panel comes out, the way Nexamp works is they have projects all over New York. So if there's a really efficient panel out there, they may come and just upgrade the projects. And there's an O&M schedule where, maybe the panels, a storm comes through and some branches fall on the panels and they need to be replaced. That's kind of part of the whole plan is that's what the company manages. But the lifetime, the panel technology has come a long way. So they're usually, multi-decade lifespans.
I guess what my concern, just on the back of the napkin concern, would be the 10%. If these are 20-year panels, 30-year panels, 40-year panels, that puts us in arrears trying to decommission the things, because there's no way that extra 10% is going to capture the cost of inflation in 20 years.
Above
What? The future value?
The bond is based on the inflation rate over the 20
So it'll
years.
compound for 2.5.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
it
surety
compounds for
guarantee
those years.
company is the one that holds the bond?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so there's an escalation built in. Yep.
And I will say this also. I mean, very much similar to putting a roof on your house after 20 years or 15 years or what have you. You're required to come to the building department. There's also going to be inspections on that whole system by the town. They're going to have eyes onto it. So what ends up happening is if they are going to come out with, say, hypothetically in 10 years, 11 or 12 years, the way the technology goes, and they're going to convert or they're going to replace, that will be done through the building department as well. So they're going to have to capture that. I anticipate just with the technology that's been going on, we're talking 20 years. We know it can happen in 2 years' time. So the technology might come out and prevail with that 8 megawatt system. You may be able to have that same footprint just by changing your panels to an updated system. The technology, you may go 16. So you're increasing the size of that, and you're actually increasing the value and increasing decommissioning and everything else. So that has to be put in place at that time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I always try to discount everything to zero.
Understood.
Nothing will ever progress. Nothing will ever get better. This is our standard forever, right?
Understood.
And then what would it put us at in terms of liability or cost, really, to take the stuff out if the bond itself doesn't inflate with the cost of decommission?
And that is, I will tell you, in talking to...
Is it 100% funded, or what's the schedule to fund the bond?
It's 100%.
So you okay. Good. Sometimes it's 20%, sometimes it's more,
I
sometimes
guess what do you mean by
meaning the actual purchase of the escrow of the bond through a surety, you had to put up a certain amount of money, correct?
Yeah, it's part of a larger, they have projects all over, and so it's just the way the surety bond works is there's a premium that
Correct.
put up for that. I don't know the exact amount. It's not the same as cash in escrow because, that's
It costs prohibitive.
it's cost prohibitive, yes.
Correct.
And so the amount, though, is 100% of that cost that the engineer looks at. The engineer also agrees to an inflation rate, and then everything's scheduled out there. So for the inflation concern, that's been baked into it.
Nick, do you want me to just give the real numbers? Just so.
I think they're in there. It's probably not.
Well, there's probably
Yes.
value if you hear the
Yeah,
numbers.
if you have the table.
So what Nick is talking about is essentially, like, in the table you see there's a current total and then a 20-year of inflation total. So the bond amount is based on the 20-year cost, like today. So
when they underwrite it, they're giving you the premium on the $115,000.
115,000 times 4, to be honest, because it's 463,400 is the decommissioning bond amount, plus a 10% bonus
This
on
wasn't
top of
five
that.
something that ended up
So it ends up at
$509 or something.
$500,000,
which is 110%
Yes.
of the decommissioning.
right. So hopefully that assuages the concern a little that, like,
No, it makes sense. I just didn't understand, how the structure of the bond was. There's two ways. You can fund it in escrow, or you can pay a premium to a company like a surety or an Ambac or Fidget, whoever, and get coverage. But I just needed to understand how you were paying for it. James asked a good question about the liability of the holding company, this Nexam, right? If it's just a holding company, they can essentially restructure in many different ways and leave the towns kind of in peril. So that's my concern.
The surety follows the project companies, which are the Ohio law.
And it should survive bankruptcy as well.
Well, I mean, the surety being a third party, it's you guys are purchasing this through them, and it's protecting us.
Part of that agreement dictates, like, if in the event of bankruptcy, if it's bankrupt and nobody can answer, you have an amount that you're guaranteed that you can go draw on.
I'm good.
it's just this is the
I'm good with this, but can we shut the mic off? The feedback is killing me.
Feedback.
You don't hear all the
Like
all the buzz?
I don't need no buzz.
Talk.
Hello.
Is that Jerry?
I can hear it now.
Yes, this one.
It's killing me.
Over many years. That's right. Okay, all right. I wanted to make sure we had any other people in the back that can hear it.
Now it's
Do you have anything more?
Still.
Or would you?
It's still.
Just logistics-wise, my understanding is the resolution in front of you to sign, or to approve to sign tonight, and then we were planning on
Thank
signing
you.
these as quickly as we could, so I think it was discussed, and my question to you is, if I come by tomorrow, I was going to bring them tonight, but I set a delay, with the bond forms signed
You are
and the cash check.
absolutely on top of this, and I feel that. So I am going to offer, if you'd like to sleep on the front side,
That's fine, I would. If it was a little warmer, I would.
buying tickets to a nice concert. No, totally understand. If in fact the board does pass the resolution tonight, can give me the authorization to sign, then I will be signing them tomorrow morning. Have them available. And if you want to come pick them up, we can make arrangements after.
Yeah.
I give you a call. You can call me first thing in the morning, and we'll make that happen. I know you're under the gun and would like to get the project going. You guys put a lot into it, and we can appreciate that. But we have to cross our T's and dot our I's, so we do everything we possibly can. So, without further ado, you can exit. Without further ado, the board has read all of these pages, I am sure, several times. We've had them in our possession for a while, and we have gone back and forth. And at this time, I would like to make a motion, and actually, under Town of Plattekill Resolution number 33 of 2025. And basically, what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign certain agreements in connection with the Ohioville Solar Project at 139 Crow Highland, New York. And I will make that motion to adopt the following resolution number 33 of 2025. Whereas on or about October 22nd, 2024, the town of Plattekill Planning Board adopted an approval resolution granting site plan and special use permit approval to Ohioville Solar A, LLC, and Ohioville Solar B, LLC, together applicant, permitting the location of an 8-megawatt solar photovoltaic array system project on property known as 139 Crow Hill Road, Highland, New York. And whereas in order to proceed with construction of the project, The town of Plattekill requires that the applicant enter into an access easement agreement, decommissioning agreement, landscaping agreement, and stormwater control facility management agreement, and in parentheses, agreements, plural, and whereas the town attorney has reviewed all such agreements. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the terms of the agreements and authorizes the town supervisor to execute same where as appropriate. So I will make that as a motion. We have a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any questions? So carried. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And that is your answer. You guys can give me a call when you will take care of it.
Nick will have all the bonds texted.
Awesome.
Good. Thank you.
There's some cards.
Thank you.
Both Owen and my contacts are there, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you, please.
Have a good night, folks.
You too.
Willing to second it? Okay. Now we will get back on track. Thank Okay, at this time I would like to kind of backtrack. Last month I read a memorandum of agreement, and sometimes you look at something and you think something is not right or accurate. I did, and I did not realize it until later on after the meeting, but I read an inaccurate document that actually was given to me by the union's official, I guess you would say. And I just want to reread this and reread it as corrected. So, memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Plattekill and the United Public Service Employees Union Town Hall Agreement. This is for the general unit here at the town hall. The January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024. This is the old agreement, and let me see where it comes to be new. Okay. Between the parties. Okay. So this is the end of the agreement for 2024 as of December 31st, 2024. Collective bargaining agreement by and between the parties is hereby modified as follows. All other provisions remain unchanged except for the modifications of dates where applicable and other housekeeping items. This memorandum of agreement shall be subject to the ratification and approval of the town of Plattekill, town board, and the members of the UPSEU, members of the respective bargaining team, and this is to affirm to support the ratification approval of the memorandum of agreement. So, number one, the term agreement is January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028. And this is number two, would be Article 8, and this is compensation. The buildings clerk / assessor's clerk, the base salary is increased to $23.35 per hour. Effective January 1st, 2026, an increase of 2.75. Effective January 1st, 2027, an increase of 2.75. Effective January 1st, 2028, 2.75. Planning / ZBA clerk, the effective January 1st, 2025, base salary increase to $19.10 per hour. Effective January 1st, 2026, an increase of 2.75. Effective January 1st, 2027, an increase of 2.75. Effective January 1st, 2028, an increase of 2.75. The assessor effective January 1st, 2025. Base salary is increased to $29,500. Effective January 1st, 2026, an increase of 2.75. Effective January 1st is 2027, 2.75 increase, and these are percentages. Effective January 1st, 2028, 2.75%. For all remaining employees in the bargaining unit, the base salary shall be increased as follows. Effective January 1st, 2025, 2.75%. Effective January 1st, 2026, an increase of 2.75%. Effective January 1st, 2027, 2.75%. Effective January 1st, 2028, an increase of 2.75. All increases are applied to base salary, not including the longevity. So add as a new section to provide as follows. Section 4, longevity. Effective January 1st, 2026, full-time employees. These are full-time employees shall receive, and this is for the town hall bargaining unit, shall receive a lump sum payment, longevity payment on their anniversary date, prospectively as follows. And the total longevity. After 10 years of full service, start of the 11th year, $1,000. After 15 years of full service, start of the 16th year, $1,250. That would be an additional $250. After 20 years of full-time service, start of the 21st year, $1,500. That's an additional $250. After 25 years of full-time service, start of the 26th year, $1,750 additional is the $250. And after 30 years of full-time service, start of the 31st year, $2,000, which is an additional $250. Article 7, under number 3. Article 7, hours of work. And this is to add a new provision to provide as follows. If the town hall closes due to inclement weather and employees are directed home or are instructed not to report to work, employees will be not charged with the cures. So that is a motion to adopt that memorandum of agreement.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? So carry. There is a correction, and I will make sure that that gets in the records. Let's see. Okay. I always say it at the end of the meeting and after everything is complete and the folks all go home and the cameras are shut off and everybody's in a hurry to get here. But I want to take the time to truly thank, and I know the board does, to thank all the employees of the town hall, the highway department, the police department, everybody who's involved in our town government. I think we have a real hard bunch of hardworking individuals here, and quite honestly, this past year, a lot of them have gone above and beyond, and I really appreciate all the support and the work that everybody has turned out. We've done quite a bit, and I want to thank the board. The board has been unbelievable this year. In 1 year's time, it's just amazing what we've been able to accomplish, and I really, truly appreciate it. So thank you very much, guys. And you as well, Sarah. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. So at this time, I would like to just make sure the grant's going to come on the bottom. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to open public input at 7:30 p.m.
I will second that.
And a motion to open public input at 7:30 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Your time to ask questions. Yes, sir. You in the gray.
Good evening. Everyone knows me, Jim Hawkinson. I'm a co-chair of the Plattekill Parade Committee for next year. He's one of our committee. We've come to ask permission for next year at the town park to have alcohol and fireworks. The parade is August 29th. August 29th.
2026.
2026.
Okay, I do know that the fire department had reached out probably about 6 months ago, maybe?
About 6 months.
And just kind of in anticipation of that, and they did discuss the desire to possibly have a beer garden or some kind of an alcohol small event. That is something that we have to take into consideration, and there's a lot of moving parts to that as well. We have to check with the insurance company. We have to look back and see what's allowed, what's not allowed, and we will do our due diligence to give you an answer.
The last time we had a wet down, big thing we had at the town park. We provided our own insurance as a rider on to your policy.
Yeah, there would be insurance policies and everything else. I just have to check and see. Everything changes in the world. I mean, things have changed so much in the last 6 months. It's just incredible. So it's not the same world we lived in 5 years ago.
I hate to say this, but we need an answer soon because, as you know, the way the law is, we have to start applying for all our permits.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. Plus, locking in vans and sending out invitations to all the other departments.
Yeah, I know that's
we have a lot of work to do. So we've been actually working on this thing for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We started saving money back in
2021.
2021.
Understood.
Right there.
Oh, no, 2001. Sorry.
I will tell you this, that I'll make a note of that, and I will start tomorrow. And if one of you want to call me Monday morning, give me a holler and see where we are with it.
We'll reach out to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
And then I will, let the board know what's going on and get their feedback. And this is a good opportunity for the board to ask any questions.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the past, I think Modena did bring a dual alcohol
Yes.
up at the park. So,
And we have to.
What type of alcohol are you looking at? Are you looking at
Beer.
just
beer. Just
Not hard alcohol, just
Nothing
beer.
hard.
Just beer, but
And it's
it had been done in the past, and you just have to look at the regulations to make sure nothing has changed for us.
Right.
But I'm in support of it because we've done it with other firehouses, but we want to make sure that our thought is covered.
And we have also reached out to another organization. What's the name of them?
The Red Knights.
The Red Knights. They work with a lot of fire departments and other companies. They know their part. They serve. They have people right at the thing because it's going to be everybody's going to be ID checked before the win.
Are you talking about like kind of a beer garden setup where it's a cordoned area?
Yes, it's gonna be.
And then these folks would come in and actually run the security for that,
Yes,
run
they
the
run the whole-
verification.
They run the whole thing, so
Okay.
we can't say, somebody can say, oh, Plattekill Fireman was drunk and let this person in. It's a separate entity.
Well, I can say that we went to your party, and it was nice that everybody that was underage, we put a band on them, so I assume that's going to be done. Also,
normally-
this way nobody could come in.
At this party, the older people get the big
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I know that you guys have a good eye on it.
Is there going to be a limit to how many people you have utilizing that?
We have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to let 50 in at a time, 20 in at a time, or 3,000 in at a time?
I would imagine it's going to be governed by the footprint of what.
Right.
What's allowed, what's not allowed. I mean, I would like to know what your anticipation is so I know how to
Tells us
present
how
it.
big it can be and everything else. And that's all comes right down to the liquor license, which we have to start working on sooner than later. So this is why the deadline is getting close. Plus, we have to get, if we do our parade route, which we want to do, it's basically the town Memorial Day parade route. We also have to go to Modena Firehouse and sit there and say, hey guys, can we march through your fire district? Get permission from them.
Have you established a parade route that you want to see utilized?
We have.
Right. Basically, it's the same as the Memorial Day parade.
So start here in the parking lot?
Start right here and march right down 32. Short.
We've also Prospect Street,
Right.
Freetown Highway, and lining them up 4455 towards Clinton.
We know we also have to reach out to DOT, get permission and all that. So
Understood.
This is why we have to start working on this now.
That's good.
And one other is fireworks at the town park. We'd like to do that as well.
What were the dates again?
August 29th. It's a Saturday.
So the parade would happen on the 29th.
Correct.
The fireworks would happen on the 29th at the end of the day. What time would the parade go off?
Actually,
I think lineup was 3.
tentative step off is at 4 p.m.
Right. Lineup is.
So it's a late parade?
It's a later parade.
Yeah, because it is in August, so we're trying to beat it and make it a little bit cooler.
Oh, that's good.
Well, not to beat up your parade, but your party. But it seems to me like that logistically would be better because the event would not be where somebody would carry over for a long time, 5-6 hours, and have alcohol available to them.
Correct.
It's basically at the end of the day, and the joy is watching the.
Probably just open it up.
Yeah, understood.
5
So
o'clock.
4 p.m. step
As soon as
off.
fireworks is over, basically everybody's going to disappear. Hopefully.
And that will be the end of it.
Correct.
Is there any anticipation? I know that there was talk about doing like a Mardi Gras thing before, and some
If
kind
we
of a.
do, it will be actually,
Oh, this is us.
right, if we do it, the smaller stuff will probably be held down in Plattekill.
So you would only utilize the park for the Saturday
the day of the
afternoon
Just for the
event.
day of the parade, just for the
All
extra.
right. And you would probably, I would say, you probably anticipate you would need 2 or possibly 3 days to set that up at the park.
Yes.
So you would need
Correct.
Thursday, Friday, and then actually Saturday and Sunday to clean it up.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to
Talked about,
do
you know,
that
talking,
also.
Just to let you know, we've talked about it. If we do get permission from the town, probably reach out to Bobby Wager and see if we can get a couple of his guys to set up the snow fencing and use the town's snow fencing, which you guys have, which you use. So it's less of an expense for us. And, you know, if we have to pay a couple of their employees for a day's pay to go.
Oh, so you'll pay the salaries for those days? Everybody's working.
$25 an hour.
Oh, and
Prevailing wage.
America right here at the church
Yeah.
and see if they'll go in and clean up the next day. So,
Yeah, logistically, it sounds like you have a pretty good idea and a good
Hungover,
plan.
you didn't show up till 11 o'clock. We can have the young kids go out there right away and start cleaning.
Yeah, what I'll also do is I also have to vet that through the soccer people. You know, that middle field is basically their baby, so I want to make sure that they don't have anything planned for those days also. And they're generally pretty good about accommodating something, especially like this. I don't anticipate a problem with that, but respectfully, I'll reach out to them also, make sure that that's good. But keep in contact with me. You guys are always through town. Keep in contact with me, and I'll make those calls and try to get you the answer as quick as we can. Is there any other question?
I have another question. Because doing the fireworks.
Yes, you're invited.
But you have to pay for it. You still have to
They
pay
usually
for
have
the
the
gear.
towers with the lights. This way, everybody gets out safe.
We'll have towers with the lights. We're probably going to have to get a generator system and stuff.
Okay.
And other lights as
And
well.
other lights, probably talk to like Bobby and find out how many lights he uses to light up the field for parking
Yes.
and stuff like that because he knows what
Yes.
wired.
Yes.
So we'd be working hand in hand with him
So that's great.
on this project.
Okay.
Right? We used to.
I know you guys have everything covered, and we look forward to it.
We're trying.
I know.
Is it fair to say it's going to be something similar to our fireworks celebration? Probably
We're going to
something.
blow you guys away.
Well, you will.
You don't mean that literally.
I could imagine. I can hardly wait.
We don't want no craters up there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You guys good?
Yep, we're good.
All right. Thank you. And like I say, check right back with me, and we'll get right on to it.
Monday?
Yeah, check back at like midday during the day on Monday. That way, if I reach out to them tomorrow, it gets them a day or two to come back with some kind of presentation if they want to mail something, or email, or whatever.
I'll contact you Monday afternoon.
Yeah, stop in, bring me lunch.
Thank you, guys.
Just share his village with.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Back again with some questions and concerns from last meeting I was at. What I'm having a difficult understanding is that the fact that we know that this project that started from day one was not on the up and up. And I have it hard for me to believe that the planning board and the town board could be that stupid to let this happen, or, as I said from day one, the fix was in. The concern now, he just talked about insurance, and that came up in a very good conversation with a friend of mine that I was talking to about. And it should be concerning for you guys also. If there is an accident, per se, and whether it's hazardous material, because according to Bob Earl, he's not responsible for what's in those containers. He said that during a public meeting. And if there's an accident out on the front, my question to you as a board, did he apply for any kind of umbrella insurance that not only would cover himself, but would also cover the town from being sued, since this was done, as we know, not on the up and up? That's number one. Well, let me finish, and then you can answer me. Number two, since I've been here, I don't know what has been done, what kind of investigation that is being done. But I can tell you this, I did hear back from Albany. And they emailed me, and they're moving forward with an investigation with the paperwork that I sent up there. I'm going to be crystal clear. I'm not going to hide anything from you. You're going to know what's going on. I'm not going to be like Croce. I'm not going to be like everybody that tried to talk to me when this whole project started. Okay? I'm going to be crystal clear, because I told you I'm going to do everything I possibly can to shut this down. And the other concern is, as I told you before, everybody that was involved, from the planning board, from Scott Moldowski, Croce, they're all named in it. Everybody's named in it. Okay.
What agency out of Albany?
That has to do with building inspector codes.
Department of State, correct?
Yes. Also, who else was contacted me was a county executive who sent my paperwork to the district attorney's office.
Can I hold you just 1 second? Just out of respect for you and the folks that don't know what he's talking about, it's a project on
4455, yes.
And that's still considered Ardonia, not Clintondale, correct? It's Plattekill.
It's town of Plattekill, but the Ardonia sign got hit so many times they were pulling back up.
Yeah. I just want everybody to understand what you're saying.
So, like I said, I'm being transparent because I wasn't, people here, not saying you, but other people that were involved in this were not transparent. Even Brooks and Brooks, when I started asking questions, she pulled me into the back of the room and started trying to whisper sweet nothings in my ears. In other words, trying to dazzle me with you-know-what, because I was asking very concerning questions. There's also a part in, I don't have my foils because I gave that to my legal counsel, where they named this not storage containers, but storage units in the paperwork. So there's another issue. The other issue is, Mondowski never went to the zoning board. He took it upon himself to go to the planning board and then bring it to the town board, and it was approved. So technically, he and the planning board and the town board went against their own zoning laws. Now here's another issue. Before all these containers were moved into that property, okay?
Are the containers up there now?
Absolutely. I got a beautiful view of them in my backyard. Those containers, which technically are illegal in this town, were stored on a piece of property on Route 32. And the only reason why they couldn't be seen was because they were way back in part of farm property. I'm not going to give anybody's names because I'm not going to start a feud here, but I found it pretty amusing.
Agricultural property?
Yes, it is. I found it very amusing that for a few years he kept them there and he had to pay to store them there. Nothing was done about that. Yet, I have a friend of mine who opened up a business a couple of years ago who had just a roll-off trailer and was being harassed by Scott Moldowski almost every week because he was trying to bring his supplies in from the trailer into his business. But funny, not 1,000 feet down the road, all these containers are back on this agricultural property and nothing's said. So as you can see, I'm going to keep moving forward. My question to you people is, what are you doing for my situation? Because we know that the drag strip got shut down, okay? We know that we have a big issue with the landfill. I'm one person. That's all I am. And I know you're here for everybody in the town. The issue that goes on here, and I've seen it for years, is people are afraid to speak up. And I'm not. My concern is, now that you know that I'm moving forward with all this, what are you going to do on your end? Because now it's gone from the county executive. She took that paperwork and emailed me by her secretary and told me they sent it to the district attorney's office to look over it. So I'm being transparent. Okay? My question is, I was here last week and gave you concerns. I'm here this week and I'm giving you concerns about insurance policy. If you guys are even covered, if something happens, I was told by him he's not responsible if anything's in those containers, but yet that's his business. Okay? The other thing is I also called DOT. On his application, I was told that he said only 2 or 3 trucks were coming out of there a day. Another exaggeration. So there's no need for lights or truck signs coming in at that entrance. Yet, myself and my son have counted 6 to 12 trucks coming out of there. Another exaggeration. You know, you've lived here all your life. That's a very high-traveled area. And like I said, what I don't understand is knowing how this was all done, that he continues to keep doing what he's doing when there's more stuff that's supposed to be done back there. There's not been a stop work order done. The only one that has done that was Scott Diller. The only one. That man was on the up and up, and you guys lost a good building inspector.
Ed Dillon?
Ed Dillon, excuse me, Bill.
So
I got Scott on my mind because of so much nonsense he did.
So let me say this, and I know that you've given us a ton of paperwork.
Yep.
So,
And I'm going to continue.
yeah, and I totally appreciate everything you're doing, and we'll take everything into account. But I have to say, you're not going to like what I'm going to say. But if there's possible litigation, we're not going to tell you what we're going to do. I will tell you that, yes, we are addressing your concerns and taking them very serious. What I would like to ask you to do is I would like to ask you to put it in a bullet form if you can. And the questions that you want answered, to put that in a bullet form. Ask us a question and then expect that answer. Ask a question, expect that answer. So we can look at that and actually hold on that and say, okay, now this is what the concerns are, this is what he's looking at, and we'll walk it through that way.
Well,
I can assure you that the board, not just today or not just last week,
and again, I understand.
we have been very aware of your concerns, and we respect that, and we're doing our due diligence. And unfortunately, nothing is quick.
No,
and I don't know what.
And listen, I know you guys are not. Everybody here is not responsible for those actions that happened. This is when there was another person in charge. But it's unfortunate that I was also told that I don't know zoning law, so I did my homework. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I did my homework. And the problem is, like I said, I've been here a very long time in this town, and mostly everything's swept underneath the rug. Nobody says anything until it happens to you. And that's why I said that. It's easy to sit back there behind that chair and tell me you're going to do this, 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 and this, but it's not happening in your backyard. Okay? And since day one, this has not been legit. And I am going to do another interview with the newspaper, and I'm going to give them all the information I have. I told you I'm going to be totally transparent. Because I have to do what I have to do to protect myself and my property because, again, just like everybody else here, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a homeowner, I have questions and concerns. Like I said, the drag strip was shut down. You guys are worried about the super dump, and I get that, but you know what? Also, you're
bringing us your story, and that's what we're concerned about, your story. We're not concerned about other stories. If you could do that.
But no, I'm just saying, it's just an example because, like I said, since day one, the only one that's only put a stop to this was Dillon. Mondowski wouldn't take my concerns. Crow lied to my face. Brooks lied. He didn't go through the proper channels. I had it right there in the bullet proof that I gave you last time I was here.
Yep.
And I just can't understand how this guy continues to keep doing what he's doing.
Understood.
To me, I think it should be shut down until further investigation. But I would be concerned if he doesn't have an umbrella insurance company if there's an accident because, like I said, I have the pictures, I have all the complaints. I hope it's not me. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but I'll gladly give them all the information.
Understood.
And that should be a concern on your part that this was not done correctly.
Like I said, we're very aware of it, and I'm sorry I can't come up with a conclusion and an answer right away.
No, I know you're not.
We are aware, and we are concerned with it, and we are addressing it.
Well, this has been going on from what year?
Since 2020.
Yeah.
The only reason why I knew that is there was a backhoe digging out behind the back of my property, and here's my metal stake, and he was digging right here. And when I came down to the town, I asked Croce what was going on. He gave me you don't need to worry about it. They're just putting containers back there. Everything's on the up and up. Well, my father told me many years ago, when a politician tells you not to worry about it, worry about it. So that's why I'm still here. It's been 5 years. If it takes me 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it takes, I'm going to continue to come here until things are done right.
Understood.
Because, like I said, if it was me and I was doing it, I'd have to fix it.
Yeah, write down your concerns, like I said, bullet point it, and then drop it off to me, so I have it. You drop something on the floor under the chair there. I don't want to lose that.
That's not mine. I don't want to lose that. That's not mine.
All right, you good?
That's good.
Okay, anyone else? You're good. Are you sure? Going twice. Okay, I'll make a motion that we close public input at 7:50 p.m.
I will second that.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor with a second to close public input at 7 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. And let me go back here. Okay, we have our monthly reports. I am going to since we have some other stuff that we have to address. I have in possession, as well as the rest of the board, with the police department monthly report, the dog control monthly report, the monthly report from the building department, the monthly report from the assessor's office, and the monthly report from the buildings and grounds department. And I'm going to make a motion not to read these monthly reports. The only one I do not have, or we do not have, is our recreation monthly report. So I'm going to make a motion not to read the monthly reports and let everybody know they're on the back table if you'd like to read them, and anybody else that would like to look at them and don't have the availability, you can either look online at those reports or stop into the town clerk's office, and I'm sure she'd be happy to get them.
Need a second?
So that's a motion. A second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you. And let's go down to the annual justice audit. So we did have a justice audit, and we had two of our councilmen do their due diligence with our clerks in the Justice Department and did their audit proficiently. And is there any questions or comments that you two gentlemen would like to make?
No, everything looks good.
Satisfactory?
Pretty plain vanilla, man.
Okay, so at this time, what we have to do in order to accept this and forward this on to the annual justice people is pass a resolution. So the Town of Plattekill Resolution number 30, and we did go out of order, so don't be confused when I say 30. So 30 of 2025, examination of justice court records for the year of 2024. I will make a motion to adopt the following resolution number 30 of 2025, whereas the Uniform Justice Court case requires the town justices annually provide their court records and dockets to their representative town auditing board, and that such records are examined or audited and that face be entered into the minutes of the town proceedings, and whereas the town board of the town of Plattekill is the town auditing board that would perform the examination or audit of the town justice court records and dockets, and whereas the town of Plattekill board members Councilman O'Flaherty and Councilman Hoppenstead did meet and review the town of Plattekill justice court records and dockets from 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Plattekill acknowledges that the examination was completed on February 13th, 2025. So that is a motion. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. And thank you for doing that, folks. I know it's tedious work, but it needs to be done. Okay, and I did move under the old business. I moved Carson Power to the front to give those folks an opportunity to go on to another meeting. So at this time, going down to the new business. So our zoning code grant, I put that on there because we did file for a grant with our comprehensive plan. We did our first phase of our comprehensive plan. We were successful in our grant request. We did the second phase when we completed our comprehensive plan for the town of Plattekill. Our desire was to continue and go right into our codes, or zoning, I should say. And we did apply for a grant. And unfortunately, we were not successful with that grant, that round of grants. I believe nobody in Ulster County was successful. So the grant process starts all over, and the desire, my desire, I don't know what the board feels, is to continue in the process of trying to get grants to complete our zoning and complete our comprehensive plan. So I did reach out to the engineering firm that did our first phase 1, phase 2. It made sense. They were the ones who were familiar with the whole process. And we are, or I should say, we do have the opportunity to file for 2 grants again. And the first grant would be a cost to the engineering fee of $5,000. And that is to write the grant, prepare the grant, and submit the grant, hopefully to completion and satisfaction. I will tell you that we did have the opportunity opportunity, myself and the engineer, to do a Zoom meeting with the Department of State and to ask questions why we were not successful. And we were told that they were very limited in the amount of money during that cycle, that a lot of that money was being held and utilized in other fashions, and there was a lot of folks that were unsuccessful. This year, for 2025, we did budget $10,000 in anticipation that we were going to have either expenses to file for additional grants, or we were going to have expenses, which is there's a percentage with every grant that the town is obligated to put. Some of them are 50%, so we would be a matching grant dollar for dollar up to a certain amount, or there would be a thing called 1090, where the town would file for a grant and we would have to pay 10% of that obligation. So in talking to the engineer, Dan Theobald, with Barton LaJudas, we did come back, and this is for zoning code updates, and the first grant, if you will, would actually be written for that $5,000 fee, and that would satisfy that grant to be submitted to both agencies. The first agency would be submitted to the Hudson River Greenway, and basically that grant would be for $14,500, and our obligation would be 50% of that. So we've already budgeted the $10,000 for 2025, so we do have the money that satisfactorily, covers that $5,000 application fee, and we would basically be approximately $2,250 short for that $10,000. But this is the start, and it's called the zoning code gap assessment, and that is like the first step. So that is a 50-50, a dollar per dollar obligation. So that being said, the second grant that would be submitted as part of the first filing or the first preparation would go to the Department of State, and that is where we would satisfy the actual process and complete that process, and we would be filing for a 90-10. The town would be responsible or obligated for 10% of that amount, and we would be filing for a $75,000 grant. So our obligation would be $7,500. That grant would be submitted. The grant opens up March 17th for the first filing through the Hudson River Greenway grant. It's called actually the Hudson River Valley Greenway grant. That would be our first grant, and that would get us through the zoning code gap assessment. And by doing that portion, it would actually increase our chances for success on that second grant, which is actually the larger of the two grants. So that obligation, again, would be approximately $7,500 after it's filed. That obligation would not be due until the year 2026. So the anticipation is we have the $10,000 to move forward if we decide to do that tonight, to file for the first grant, which is the step to get the second larger grant to complete the process. And it is about a year process, once we start, just like the comprehensive plan was, but the anticipation would be December of 2026. We would complete everything and it would be done. We would be successful. So the first grant, we would achieve the first step, zoning code gap assessment. The second grant would follow and would be performed in 2026. So in anticipation of that, we would be budgeting in our full budget in 2025 for 2026. And it would basically be the same thing that we budgeted this year and the same thing that we budgeted last year. Since 2019, I believe, to be successful to complete the comprehensive plan. So
the
$75,000 grant would come from the Department of State.
And that gets the zoning.
That gets everything done. Yep. So the first grant basically is to do what they call a zoning code gap assessment. So my hopes, and confirmed by the engineer, and actually confirmed by the folks that we spoke to with the Department of State, it looks better and it gains points, if you will, for lack of better words. And I guess it is a point system they utilize. They couldn't explain it to me and I couldn't understand it anyway. But basically what it is, it secures a greater chance of achieving that $75,000 grant to achieve what we're looking for. So the first step would be to file for the grant through the Hudson River Valley grant, and then do the next step in anticipation of this actually taking effect. You know, if we were successful, we more than likely would start the process, I would say, probably the latter part of December of this year to the middle of January of 26. And it would almost follow the same criteria where we would gather aboard members of the community and we would have meetings. There would be surveys that would be sent out. There would be a lot of public input. There would be a lot of concerns with the zoning updates. You know, and again, the comprehensive plan, as well as the zoning, is a living document. So it changes, and it behooves all the boards, including us, the planning board, the ZBA, the building department, to look, and every other department, quite honestly, to look at those and see how we can develop that as the future develops. You know, it's not the same world we lived in 10 years ago when we found out that our original comprehensive plan, master plan, if you will, how that changed over the years too. So we had the opportunity to kind of tweak it and tailor it to what our vision would be in the future. So, any questions?
Yeah, just one.
Yes, sir.
So for the grant, the total cost to us, if my math is right, would be like 12.5, right? Possibly getting 75,000.
Yeah, approximately.
Okay.
Yeah, approximately. And
That's over.
it would be over 75,000 because you're achieving two grants. You'd be having the first grant 7,500.
Right,
And then
okay. So
75,000.
you're like, whatever, 82.5, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's over a couple calendar year budget cycles.
Yes.
So the first part, the 5,000 for, I'm interpreting it in my head as they're going to come back and say this is where the gaps are. It basically gives you credibility.
I hope to have the contracts where that would be spelled out specifically tonight. And I didn't receive them, and he apologized. They won't be prepared until tomorrow or the day after in their completion. So my anticipation was to come here tonight, get the flavor of what the board desired, and basically make a motion to proceed based on the contract that they have.
Right.
And I also said to them in anticipation of that, it would not be a contract per se that, you know, if you're going to send me a contract, I want the availability to show the board individually and say, no, this is, you know, not the way we want it. And again, it would be vetted through our attorney to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And basically the first portion is kind of an overview of our I guess the zoning the way it is today,
Right.
and a reflection of the things that need to be changed. And the second grant would actually be the process of doing the changes.
Right.
So, and I will tell you that I think today, Sarah, you updated the website with our comprehensive plan, and there's copies also in the back. So it's pretty entailed, and you know there was a lot of work that went into it, and a lot of folks thankfully stepped up, and a lot of interest from the public. There was a lot of the surveys filled out, a lot of input, and you know it's a process. It's just a process I feel needs to be done. You know, you folks let me know your feelings, your opinions.
Well, you're looking at it because in some cases there's a gray area that we have to straighten out.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens with racetrack, whatever, ag.
That's what happens with every project.
Because
Not if you do it the right way.
To update it and make sure it's
that it's covered, you know, in that case. But because also with ag districts, at one time when they did the master plan, they did ag like this, but this part where the solar farm is now, a part of the master plan was they're going to have buildings there. You know, somebody was going to put maybe apartments, but it never happened. You know, so because of the wetlands and everything else. So they don't. I know this is what I'm trying to explain to people is that we'll look at all the gray areas and make sure that we close them up a little bit because sometimes it's a little broad. So we try and bring everything together.
Any other questions?
No, I think I got it.
I I will say we have a member of the planning board here. Do you have any comments, Rich?
Yeah, because what is the first grant team? What does that cover? Because there are gaps in our. I don't know what that gap thing means because.
So basically, what that is, that's an assessment, and that lays out that whole process is an assessment of our zoning as it stands today.
Okay.
And the needs. It's basically like a needs assessment and an evaluation of where we stand today. Okay. And what that does is that proves or substantiates the grant to do the process.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
gaps in the code.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it's called.
Yeah.
It's called the zoning gap assessment. Basically.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Yep. So, gentlemen,
I'll make a motion we hire Barton and Judas to go forward with the grant.
Got a motion on the floor. We have a second?
Second it.
Got a motion on the floor with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you. And I will make sure that as I receive a copy, I will give you guys a hard copy and send you an email also so you can review it. All right. And the only other thing that I would request that with that motion, if somebody would like to entertain another motion for the supervisor to be able to sign that when it comes in without waiting till the next meeting also.
I'll make a motion that Supervisor Pugh sign the contract when it comes through.
So we have a motion with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Okay, next we have resolution number 31, and this is for a budget modification. So this budget modification, and I will tell you before I read it, just to explain, this was an anticipated bill that came in through the courts, and this is for our, what do they call that? Not the public defender. Oh my golly.
Yeah, wasn't it?
No, I said public defender. It's not the public defender. The
district attorney?
Yeah. The assistant for the assistant to come in.
Yeah,
And
the
ADA. The ADA, that's the number I was looking.
That was it.
Thank you. So the resolution number 2025, of 2025, number 31, General Fund Budget Amendment. So this would be, I would like to make this motion, whereas the town supervisor has requested a transfer in the amount of $5,600 from A 1110.100 to A 1110.400. Whereas the transfer is necessary to cover voucher for 2024, the calendar year. This voucher was received in 2025. However, the expense was for the 2024 calendar year. So now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Plattekill, Ulster County, to amend the 2024 general fund budget with a decrease of expense line A.1110.100, justice personnel in the amount of $5,600, no cents, an increase in the expense line of A.1110.400, justice contractual in the amount of $5,600. Be it further resolved that funding shall be supported by the transfer of $5,600, no cents from A. 0.1110.100 justice personnel to A. 0.1110.400 justice contractual in the amount of $5,600, no cents.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second for resolution 2025 number 31. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Next, we have a Veterans Committee. The Veterans Committee. I will like to announce, and I'm very proud to be able to announce, that the Veterans Committee with the town of Plattekill actually received a donation from Hannaford, and it is in the amount of $3,000. And that was in celebration of the recent renovations. And they looked around and they picked out a not-for-profit, so to speak. They've been very supportive in the past with the Veterans Committee, and I would like to thank them absolutely for the generous gift that they have. Thank you. So we will make sure that we send them a thank you as well. Okay. Next, we have a veterans resolution, a concerning the veterans, and this is for postage. And basically, this is a general fund budget amendment, and this is resolution 2025 number 32. And I would like to make the motion. Whereas the town supervisor has requested a transfer in the amount of $184.92 from the 8.0208 to 8.1670.400. Whereas the transfer is necessary to cover the postage for the veterans' mailings. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the town board of the town of Plattekill, Ulster County, to amend the 2025 general fund budget with a decrease of expense line 8.208 Veterans Committee Fund in the amount of $184.92, an increase in the expense line of 8.1670.400, print and mail contractual in the amount of $184.92. Be it further resolved that the funding shall be supported by a transfer of $184.92 from A.0208 Veterans Committee Fund to A.1670.400 print and mail contractual in the amount of $184.92. So that is a motion. We have a second on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you once again. Okay, and that is resolution number 32. So at this time, it is 8:10 p.m. I'd like to make a motion that the board goes into executive session and has to discuss potential litigation. A motion on the floor to go in executive session at 8:10 p.m. with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.